Hello, and welcome to Home Defense Strategies Take Number 2. I filmed take number 1 a few months ago and was kind of mortified after reviewing it that there were a lot of holes in my plan. And I'm sure even after reviewing this video, I'm going to pick up on some holes, and that's the point. I want to challenge you and encourage you to think through your home defense strategy, how you're going to respond to a bump in the night, because our lives are changing. There are variables and factors in our lives that are out of our control, and they probably will affect how we respond to a crisis. So let me break down two factors that have kind of changed recently. We had renovations done to our first floor, which has changed line of sight from my bedroom door. And with line of sight also changes shot lines of where a threat might be entering the premises. And then I kind of realized, wait a second, our almost 2-year-old is staying in a different bedroom now, and that means that depending on what caliber I'm using, I don't want to over penetrate that wall over there. So I'll walk you to my door for just a minute. I'm sitting here by the side of the bed, hear a crash, hear a scream. I'm sitting up. Now, I don't have a gun on my nightstand, and I don't recommend that. Heard too many horror stories, or even a gun under the pillow. Too many horror stories of waking up in an adrenaline, rush, and just pointing a gun at the first thing that moves. And I know somebody who pointed a gun at their child in that kind of a situation, and luckily no one was hurt. But that has stuck with me. You need to give yourself just a few seconds to wake up before you actually have your hands on a gun. So and this is some product placement here. You've maybe seen this in a different video. This is StopBox. That's a relatively new product on the market, and it has a finger combination. So you press down these buttons on the top in a certain pattern. And it does allow, you practice it, it does allow very quick access, but it also engages your brain in that split seconds to access your firearm. So before you just lay hands on a loaded gun, you've got to think through, okay, this is my code, this is how I open it up. But now it's not a combination lock. It's also not electronic. So that's the genius of that design. This is all mechanical. It is something you can practice and get good at. And so in that moment's notice, you're in chaos. I'm kind of paraphrasing the term, but you always reduce down to you don't rise to the occasion, you reduce down to the highest level of training. So, if you've trained to open it, then your body should go through that process quickly. Now, also with this, I've got a bag. I'll go through the bag in just a minute after I explain the setting. Hopefully that'll make a little bit more sense. So, I grab my bag, grab a flashlight, and I come here to my bedroom door. Now, what's really neat about my house currently is from my bedroom door, I can see both doors to the house. The front door right here, just a few feet away, and I can see the back door. Sorry if my house is a little messy. Now, you probably noticed I have the lights off, but you can see a lot of daylight coming in, a lot of glass in my house, and which we like. But it's easy to gain access through glass, right? Well, one little tidbit I want to add. I have these, glass panes in the door here, and sure, you could smash through it with a brick or a crowbar and reach in and unlock the door. But on the bottom, trying to point backwards, the bottom of the door, I've got one of these hotel clasp locks, like a slider lock. And what that will hopefully do is give a secondary warning sound, glass breaking. Okay, they're about to gain interest, boom. And trust me, when I've accidentally opened the door with that, it shakes the whole house when you do that. And, and of course, is going to cause an intruder a little bit more time to figure out, whoa, what's going on? What's blocking the door? How do I get, this open? Gives me a few seconds to react to that. So just one little thing to consider. I also have it down low so that my kids can open it and they can leave the house. All right. Don't put it up too high when you've got small children. So from here, I can see my front door, my back door, the windows that are open out to the back porch. I can see all ground level windows primarily. So if anybody's trying to gain access to my house from my bedroom door, I can see where they're coming in. And I think that's a major plus. And I want to encourage you in your house setup to kind of think through, is there a point where you can see that too? Like get to point A. You hear a crash, get to point A so you can assess the situation. And this might seem extreme to some of you. But don't just assume that there's one intruder. Especially when it's a violent home invasion, and I don't know the statistics on this, and I'm sure it varies depending on what location your house is at. But just think through this with me. Very few people are intentionally breaking into a house to hurt people on their own. It's probably going to be a gang, some kind of organized criminal intention, a misdirected SWAT team. I don't know. But you want to have your periphery as wide as possible, and knowing what the situation really is. You might see one person crash through a window and be like, okay, that's threat primary one. But then out of the corner of your eye, you're like, oh, there's movement over there. So make sure, in the first moments that you're like, okay, am I really expecting? What's going on? Like, we got to establish that first before we can take any other action. So I'm going to retreat back in here for just a minute to go over the bag, the tools that I've assembled to deal with the situation. So again, stop box, be able to access a sidearm of some kind. I do think, there's all kinds of YouTube videos and thoughts on pistol, shotgun, rifle, which is best, and each of them have pros and cons in different settings. And I've honestly gone back and forth between all three of those as my primary go-to bump in the night gun. But right now, with many young children in the home, I want to be as precise as I can. And I also want to make sure that my cartridges caliber the bullet does not over penetrate walls. Because one of those line of sight, my almost 2-year-old's on the other side of that wall over there. So I want to be very careful, and in assessing the situation, like, I want to be able to know, okay, I can shoot here, 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 and here, but I'm going to have to take 3 steps sideways before I can shoot here. I need to have that kind of cataloged in my brain. I'm sure there are hundreds of videos about this particular topic on YouTube. I've seen a few of them, and they have influenced this setup a little bit. But the idea of having a bag or a belt system that you can grab in a hurry for your bump in the night, and some of the things on here I think are original ideas to me that I'm adding to other people's ideas. Originally, I was thinking of going with a fanny pack. Yes, I have a fanny pack. It was on sale one time, and I thought, who knows, I might put it to use one day. And actually, I have been putting it to use, and I've been using it more as my neighborhood bag when I'm going on a walk with kids, when I'm going down to the lake. And because of that, there's things that I keep in this bag that just don't make sense for a home invasion bag. But one of the things I do carry in this bag, and you've probably seen it in other videos, is a Kel-Tec P17. And I know some of you are going to just mock the heck out of this. But this is chambered in 22 long rifle. And right now, this is one of the tools I'm going to be grabbing because I'm very comfortable shooting this gun and very accurate with this gun. I feel very confident with this gun. And again, with this lightweight caliber, I know I'm not punching through multiple layers of drywall. And you know, another aspect to consider, I don't have any devices on the end of my guns. So really loud calibers are going to just deafen everybody, make the situation possibly worse. This is going to have a sharp sound to it, but at least it's not blowing my eardrums out. So especially in a house environment. So this is one of the things I'm going to be grabbing. It will probably be in stop box or in a different place, but I'll be grabbing that. So keep that in mind. This might work. This kind of a bag might work for you. I do have a little like medical kit here on the front. You know, you can put a flashlight and all that kind of stuff in there. But this is the bag that I'm going with. And I had this bag in storage. It's a sling bag. I'll try standing up here so I can grab this out from under the bed. And it's got a nice carry handle. And I can easily, quickly get this on. All right, now might seem a little extreme. I've got a flashlight up here, you know, and I can kind of angle that. I've got a quick access knife here. This is a SOG field knife. I like it because it has good sheath retention. It's very small. It's more of a utilitarian kind of knife, but it's definitely accessible. Now, what I like about this bag particularly is the fact that you can quickly get into it. That's the whole beauty of a sling bag. Now, I don't use this bag very often. In fact, I carried it one time outside the house and just didn't like it. Just the way it's designed, it pulls on my shoulder funny. In fact, even just putting it on now, I kind of feel lopsided. I would not want to walk more than 200 yards down a road with this bag. So this is not my, let's throw it in the car and, you know, go travel bag. This is, right now, is going to be my bump in the night bag. So just going over a few of the things in my bump in the night bag. Pair of gloves here on the front. You say, why gloves? Well, I don't want to hesitate with my hands, especially if one of the things that we're dealing with in the bump of the night involves fire. All right. You know, I'm going to a door handle and, you know, yes, I might want to be able to tell, is that handle hot, but I'm also wanting to get my kids out of rooms. And I don't want to be sitting there, oh, the handle's so hot, and my kid's screaming on the other side of the door. I want to be able to get in that door quick and get my kid out. All right. So along also with fire, because fire is probably the more likely scenario that I might have to deal with, I've got a fire extinguisher right here in the bottle holder of the bag. So, you know, even if I have to go to the next floor to deal with the situation, I don't know, you know, I hear kids screaming and I go running upstairs. Don't know if, you know, some intruder's already in the house or if I'm dealing with a fire situation or something else. All right, well, I've got all the tools, or hopefully all the tools necessary to deal with those situations. Next kind of things, we'll talk about some medical. Medical is another huge thing. And I have a trauma kit in here. Let's see. Oh, I have a house key just in case I end up having to go outside the house, come back in another door that might be locked. Have a house key. I also have just a little multi-tool. And the reason I have this is it has a easy access flathead screwdriver, because sometimes my kids like to play with their door locks, even though they are told not to. And all the door locks inside my house have the flathead on the other side. So I'm trying to get into a room and they're scared. Okay, I can get in quick. I've got some dude wipes. You never know when you have to wipe something down, wipe a kid down. Maybe the scream is because they've had an accident and they're freaking out. You know, have the tools with you to deal with some of that. I do have a roll of black duct tape, and I have it set up here where I can actually pull it off really quick. So I can use that to bandage something. I could use that to, who knows, bind something up if I need to. That might be a necessity depending on if you're dealing with multiple threats. All right, I'm going to say that very carefully. And to that point, in this pocket, I've got some zip ties that are configured in a way that I could easily, I could zip tie my feet together if I had to. Also in this box, or in this pocket, I've got pepper spray. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I'll go on the record and say this. You know, if someone's entering my house, they're threatening my family, and that is how I view them. You know, if they're banging on the door saying help, 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 that might be a little different. I'm not going to shoot through the door. I'm not saying that. But if they have entered my premises uninvited, they have made themselves a threat. And I am fearing for my life and the life of my children. And so that is how I'm going to respond. So, you know, I already showed the little Kel-Tec P17. Feel very confident in that. But then kind of the main feature of this bag is this opening. And some of you have seen my older videos. This is a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 chambered in 9mm. I've got a Leighton laser on it, angle foregrip, so I can index my hand properly. And I can get this out of the bag fairly quick and ready to go. Already has a magazine in it. Of course, the gun's not loaded the way that it's set up like that. But I also have a spare mag right here on the top. And so even with the bag behind my back, I can get to that magazine if I had to. You can probably also see I have an empty holster here to where my P17 will fit in there, and then a spare mag for the P17. So that's kind of the main things. And then the other thing is another tool, because if I'm dealing with a fire, a tree falling through the house in the middle of the night, you know, and I'm trying to get to a kid and they're trapped or something, I do have this tomahawk in the back pouch. Oh, and it worked. I have the sheath rigged up to where all I have to do is reach in and pull it out, and it's ready to go. So I have to work on that, getting it back in. Don't want to burn up too much of the camera time doing that, but ultimately the idea is to be ready for multiple situations, to not just be pointing a gun in people's faces. Another thing I do have right by the bed, of course, are a pair of easy slip-on boots. These just happen to be the boots I have right now. I always have at least a pair of pants or something by the bed, depending on what time of year it is. I may not be fully clothed, but I want to respond to a situation as ready as I can. So I know some in the prepper community, they have this kind of setup more on like a body armor, plates and all that kind of stuff. And that's all well and good. And I don't know, I may consider that another time. But this is what seems to make sense the most right now in a situation that I'm in. So, as I said, I'm sure I've missed things, missed different components of this, and making this video is going to help me see that. But again, this is back a challenge to you as the viewer. Are you ready to respond to whatever happens in the middle of the night? I'll be honest, since I've put this bag together and have it under the bed, I've honestly been sleeping better. When I first made take number 1 a couple months ago, I was just kind of like, oh my goodness, I am not ready. And so I did change a few things immediately, but then I really planned this out. And once the plan got put in a bag and, you know, right by the bed, I feel more secure at night, ready to handle whatever might come. So, and that's what this channel ultimately is all about. And this is just one little slice of life. The bump in the night that we don't know exactly what's going on, but Hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. I hope you consider that. Take care.